In the dead of winter, 1959, in the vast, unforgiving wilderness of the Ural Mountains, something went terribly wrong. 9 experienced hikers, students from the Ural Polytechnical Institute, embarked on a challenging expedition to a peak known as Otorten. They were young, full of life, and skilled in navigating the harsh Russian landscape, but they would never return. This is the story of the Dyatlov Pass Incident, a mystery that has baffled investigators and intrigued the world for over 60 years. What happened on that frozen mountainside? The evidence left behind only deepens the mystery, painting a picture so bizarre and horrifying that the truth remains buried under decades of speculation and snow. The group was led by 23-year-old Igor Dyatlov, an accomplished skier and outdoorsman. The team consisted of 7 men and 2 women, all seasoned for this kind of trek. Their plan was to ski across the northern Urals and climb Otorten, a journey that should have taken about 3 weeks. They documented their initial days with diaries and photographs, capturing moments of camaraderie and the stark beauty of their surroundings. Their last photos show them setting up camp on the eastern slope of a mountain, ominously named Kolatsayakl, which translates from the local Mansi language as Dead Mountain. They were supposed to send a telegram from their destination by February 12th. When that day came and went with no word, the alarm was raised. On February 26th, a search party finally located their abandoned campsite. What they found was the first of many unsettling clues. The tent was heavily damaged, but not by the weather. It had been slashed and ripped open, but crucially, from the inside. It was as if the occupants had been in such a desperate panic that they couldn't even take a few seconds to unzip the flap. They had sliced their way out into the deadly minus 30 degrees Celsius night. Inside the tent, all their belongings, warm clothes, shoes, food, and equipment were left behind, neatly arranged. It was clear they had fled in a hurry, but what could possibly cause a group of experienced hikers to abandon the safety of their shelter, underdressed in a raging blizzard? Outside the tent, a trail of footprints led down the snowy slope towards a sparse tree line about a mile away. The footprints showed that the hikers were either barefoot, wearing only socks, or in a single boot. They weren't running frantically in all directions. They seemed to have walked away calmly, in an organized fashion, which only adds another layer of strangeness to the scene. Why would they calmly walk barefoot into a frozen wasteland after panicking and cutting their way out of their tent? The contradictions were piling up. Beneath a large, old cedar tree at the edge of the forest, the searchers found the first 2 bodies, Yuri Krivonishenko and Yuri Doroshenko. They were lying next to the remnants of a small fire. They were dressed only in their underwear. Their hands and feet were burned, suggesting they had desperately tried to stay warm, or perhaps even tried to climb the tree. Branches high up on the cedar were broken, indicating someone had attempted to get a better vantage point, possibly to look back at the tent or scan the surrounding area. But what were they looking for? The next 3 bodies, including that of group leader Igor Dyatlov, were found scattered between the cedar tree and the camp. They were positioned as if they had been trying to return to the tent. Zeneta Kolmogorova was found the farthest up the slope, her body frozen in a pose that suggested she was crawling back towards the shelter she had so desperately fled. Rustin Slobodin had a minor fracture in his skull, but like the first 2, all 3 officially died of hypothermia. So far, the scene was tragic, but perhaps explainable by a sudden event that caused them to panic and succumb to the elements. But the real horror was yet to be discovered. It took another 2 months, after the snow began to thaw, for the remaining 4 hikers to be found. They were discovered in a ravine, buried under more than 10 feet of snow, about 75 meters from the cedar tree. And it is here that the mystery of Dyatlov Pass transforms from a tragic accident into something truly terrifying. These 4 hikers, Nicholas Thibault Brignolis, Ludmila Dubinina, Alexander Zolotaryev, and Semyon Kolevatov, had suffered catastrophic internal injuries. Thibaut Brignoles had a severe skull fracture. Dubinina and Zolotaryov had multiple, massive chest fractures. A forensic expert at the time compared the force required to inflict such damage to that of being hit by a car. Yet, bizarrely, their bodies showed almost no external signs of trauma. There were no bruises or soft tissue damage you would expect from such a violent impact. It was as if they had been crushed by an immense, invisible force. And it gets even stranger. Ludmila Dubinina was missing her tongue, her eyes, and part of her lips. Semyon Kolevatov was missing his eyes, and Alexander Zolotaryov was missing his eyeballs. Some initial reports even mentioned that some of their clothes contained significant levels of radiation. The Soviet authorities quickly concluded the investigation, stating that the hikers had died from a compelling natural force. The case was closed and the files were classified, sealing the area off to the public for years. This vague conclusion and official secrecy only fueled decades of speculation. What compelling natural force could cause such specific, brutal injuries while leaving no external trace? Let's explore some of the most prominent theories. The first, and for a long time, the most accepted official explanation, is an avalanche. The theory suggests a slab avalanche struck the tent, forcing the hikers to cut their way out and flee. The internal injuries of the last four could have been caused by the crushing weight of the snow. This seems plausible, but it has major problems. The campsite was on a slope of less than 30 degrees, generally not considered steep enough for a major avalanche. Searchers found no evidence of an avalanche when they arrived, and the hikers' own footprints were still visible. Furthermore, Igor Dyatlov was an experienced skier who would have known better than to camp in an avalanche-prone area. A 2021 study proposed a specific type of delayed slab avalanche, but many experts still find it doesn't fully explain why they fled so far and in such a peculiar manner. Then we enter the realm of more clandestine possibilities. One popular theory is that the hikers stumbled upon a secret Soviet military test. This could explain the radiation on their clothes and the government's secrecy. Perhaps they witnessed a parachute mine test, which creates a concussive blast that can cause severe internal injuries without leaving external marks. This would explain the crushing chest fractures. The loud, disorienting blast could have sent them into a panic, fleeing the tent without proper gear. The missing soft tissues, like the eyes and tongue, could be explained by natural scavengers and decomposition in the wet environment of the ravine. This theory connects many of the dots, but there's no declassified record of any such military activity in that specific area on that night. Let's get even more unusual. Another theory involves infrasound. Infrasound is low-frequency sound below the range of human hearing, which can be generated by certain wind patterns, like a Kármán vortex street, as air moves over a mountain dome. It's been suggested that intense infrasound can induce feelings of intense panic, dread, and nausea. Could a freak weather event have generated a powerful infrasound wave that drove the hikers mad with irrational fear, causing them to rip open their tent and run into the snow? It could explain their panicked flight, but it fails to explain the traumatic physical injuries. It seems unlikely to be the sole cause of the tragedy. Of course, no enduring mystery is complete without a touch of the paranormal. Some have speculated that the hikers encountered something truly unknown. UFOs are often brought up, with sightings of strange glowing spheres reported in the sky over the northern Urals around the same time. Could they have seen something that terrified them? Another theory points to a local legend of the Menk, a sort of Russian yeti or snowman said to inhabit the mountains. While there were some large, unexplained footprints found near the site, there's no concrete evidence to support this. It's an exciting thought, but it remains firmly in the realm of folklore. The final piece of the puzzle might lie with the local Mansi people who have inhabited these lands for centuries. Initially, investigators suspected they might have attacked the hikers for trespassing on sacred ground. However, The investigation quickly ruled this out. The nature of the injuries was not consistent with a human attack, and there were no signs of a struggle with another party. In fact, the Mansi people were instrumental in the search efforts and hold the mountain in deep respect, considering it a place of dangerous spirits. So where does that leave us? We have 9 dead hikers, a tent cut open from the inside, a panicked flight into freezing temperatures without proper clothing, and 4 bodies with injuries so violent and specific they defy easy explanation. Was it an avalanche, a secret weapon, a natural phenomenon, or something else entirely? Each theory seems to explain a piece of the puzzle, but none of them fits perfectly. The avalanche theory doesn't explain the lack of evidence or the strange behavior. The military test theory lacks confirmation. The infrasound theory doesn't account for the brutal injuries. The paranormal theories lack evidence. The truth of what happened on that dead mountain in 1959 seems to be a mosaic of inexplicable facts and contradictions. The files were eventually declassified, but they offered no new definitive answers. The mystery of the Dyatlov Pass Incident endures, a chilling reminder that some questions may never be answered, and the wilderness keeps its secrets well. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into one of history's most chilling unsolved cases. What do you think happened to the Dyatlov group? Let me know your theories in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this journey into the unknown, don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more content. Stay curious and stay safe.